and good evening. This is vk3sl. Welcome to the afternoon session. Back on board. I was wondering if I was going to make it today, but yes, back in the fold. Yay. Well, thank you for tuning in, and we'll look forward to a bit of bilge on these frequencies. That's on 160 and on UHF. And it's been good to hear that the frequencies have been kept warm. And that's most excellent indeed. Well, we've got a lot of good news source material at hand at present, so we'll look forward later on to sampling some of that. We had a rather successful op shop venture, and I have now about another 50 LPs, but they're all rare and interesting and excellent for these types of enterprises, so good for tone tests. Anyhow, what we'll do, I'm still sort of getting myself sorted here. I will defer to our playlist, and what we'll hear first is something from Duke Ellington. No, it's not Duke Ellington. It is the Cotton Club, but it's the house band at the Cotton Club. It's Mr. Mills and his orchestra, Irving Mills and his, I don't know what they call themselves. I can look it up. I can find it somewhere in my midst. Lost it. We'll find out who is performing on this. I can give you a taste of something you probably don't really want to know anything about. It's the Irving Mills Blue Rhythm Band. It was the house band at the Cotton Club when Duke Ellington wasn't playing, but it's mostly Ellington musicians, and they are a really hot group. Mr. Prosit put this up some time ago, and I was listening to it last night in the house on the big RCA speaks, and I have to say the bass is just extraordinary. It's incredible. You can even hear the musicians tapping on the floor. Incredible stuff, and it's such a dynamic performance. It deserves a second, a third, and a fourth play. We just have to endure. So here we go, queuing up now as we speak, and we're on board. VK3SL. Mills and his Blue Rhythm Band. I think we'll continue. We'll listen to the rest of this. There's about 4 or 5 tracks from 1930, Cotton Club Fair.
Sweet Dinah Lou, Mr. Moon Upper Ball will soon be swinging low, and you should know that it's high time for love. Around me everywhere I see a pair, happy as can be. Why should I have to stand by, lonely, so lonely for your company? Miss Dinah Lou, sweet Dinah Lou, lovebirds up in a tree all seem to sympathize. Yes, they're wise. Everybody's got someone but me. Every little star up above keeps telling me don't be blue. Can't you see it's you that I'm needing, Miss Dinah Lou? You see it's you, Miss Dinah Lou.
Mills and his Blue Rhythm Band, recordings from the early 1930s, and Kara of Mr. Prosut, and this is vk3sl testing on 160 and also on UHF test missions as a part of the scene, afternoon scene, been happening for quite some time, and we just keep the airwaves warm with nostalgia at this point in time. Now, well, just a reminder that we will be back late tonight, around about 11:30. We'll charge up with a late night session on the same frequency on AM. That's 1865 kilohertz, and also a VHF on Channel D. That's 147.475 megahertz. So if you want to tune in tonight, there will be more missions, and we'll be co-hosting with Frank vk3jr, and we've got a couple of interesting ideas to explore tonight, and it's going to be pretty weird and wonderful. So certainly recommend, if you want to be tantalised by some strange soundscapes.
Certainly be weird, I think.
Yeah, I've been listening to her music. This is Mrs. Berry. I keep thinking of Berry, whatever her name, the New South Wales woman. It's not Bavarian. I've got to think of Bavarian Pie or something. That'll help me remember her name. Yes, and so she explored a lot of sort of interesting vocal sounds, and she's of Armenian descent, and she's sort of in the avant-garde scene where vocal sounds were sort of in the norm, so we get sort of rather fantastic array of human vocalises, one kind or another. It's really interesting music, and it's quite interesting to read about her influence, including artists such as Meredith Monk. We might play some Meredith Monk as well, because she's also...
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, because she also explored the natural harmonic series of the voice, so you get these sort of overtones on overtones and strange sort of carolling synthesis of sounds. It's quite extraordinary. Really interesting soundscapes, but you just don't listen to it with normal ears. You just hear it as a series of interesting improvisations, I suppose. You can't orchestrate stuff like that.
Certainly can't.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to it. But it's interesting to read about her and hear, and also listen in to some of her Armenian music. I might actually play some soon, some of her Armenian folk music.
Yeah, she's done a variety of things.
She certainly has. Really interesting artist who's sort of out there on many fronts, including the avant-garde scene. So we'll probably sort of see her in profile and listen to a variety of samples. She didn't live that long. She sort of passed away in her 50s. I didn't realise. I thought she might have hung around for a bit longer, but she had a huge career within a very short time frame, from the 50s through to the 70s, early 80s. So, yeah, that's Kathy Bavarian.
Bavarian, yeah. It's barbarian, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. I've got to think of barbarian. That's better. It's better than Berejiklian or whatever her name is. Yeah.
Poor old Gladys.
I know, I can think of Gladys. Oh, dear, oh, dear.
Why is it that every Armenian surname ends in I-A-N?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like over in the
Russian, yeah.
The Russian, and the Czechs all have over at the end. It might mean son of, or something like Fitzsimon or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I have an Armenian friend. I must ask her.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I wonder about that. Yeah. So we'll certainly tease the subject out. Now, I'm really pleased to announce that I've got all this missions fodder here, Frank. This is so exciting.
Oh, great.
Oh, the story is that I have to tell you the story because I'm excited about this. This is the other day. I had to take my daughter and do a horrible drive around in bad traffic, which I'm just not used to after having sort of lockdown freedom. It's a different type of freedom, but freedom from the car. And anyhow, I had to drive around, and it was a long drive. It was horrible. But the saving grace was that there was an op shop next to the physio place where Beatrice was having a session. And so I zipped in, and there's a huge stack of classical LPs, but they're not the conventional World Record Club, the errata, the usual LPs that you see.
Yep.
But these are all really early special issue imports and stuff that I've never in my life seen. And it's an audiophiles collection from the 50s, early 50s, I'd say.
Good to hear.
I don't think there's any records here after 1953, 54. They're early stuff. And they've all got jacket covers. Now, they're how you open out the cover. It's all very formal.
I remember it very well.
Yeah. So lots of Deutsche Grammophon and archive releases, but interestingly, there's lots of Nixer records. There's about 20 or 30 Nixer discs. Now, you just don't see Nixer records around very often. And they're all unusual repertoire played by artists that I have no knowledge of.
You buy all of them?
Oh, I went crazy. In fact, the crazy, interesting thing was they had ridiculous prices on them. Someone had gone through and put down, I obviously looked up on eBay what people are fetching for these discs and put on sticky notes on them with these crazy prices, about 3 or 4 prices on. So I think they were meant to be sorted, and someone was to work out some intermediary price.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I thought I just can't afford to pay $200 a record.
Oh my God.
That's what they were asking. And so I thought, I'll just put a pile. And there's this young woman at the desk. And I said, how much are the LPs? She said, look, we're having a special. They're all $1 each. And I thought, well, I just bring them up. She said, how many are in the pile? And I said, 60. She said, no worries, $60.
Wow, you've done well.
I did well. So I didn't have to do anything else than just sort of say what it was. So she didn't have any knowledge of this, and I hope I haven't done anyone out, but I'm very happy to have them, and I think they'll make fantastic missions fodder, and they'll be well received and well played. So it's a really, really good outcome. And lots of recordings of the Pascal String Quartet. Now, they're very interesting. I've heard a few of their recordings before, but they're rare as hen's teeth. They're French, of course, and they played in the very Franco-Belgian style, very have a beautiful perfume, great colours, textural colours. And
Grumio.
Yeah, and exactly, very much like Grumio's playing, and of course a lot of the.
I love it.
Yeah, it's brilliant, and but a number of them play recordings of them playing the late Beethoven string quartets and other recordings of that group, recorded in around about 1950. And I'm just so thrilled because I think this music is going to be, certainly for me, it's going to be a strong point of education. I'm going to learn a lot about these players. And it's nothing like having the original Dead Horse material, source material.
That's the one.
So, yeah, so I'm looking through it now. A number of Vox records. You don't see Vox discs around. And things like Miroslav Horzowski playing the Beethoven sonatas. Now, Horzowski only died a few years ago, 104, I think he was, or something. But he made a lot of recordings. He's a Polish pianist. He made quite a few recordings in the just after the Second World War, and then he mainly taught. Did a few concerts. In fact, there is even a concert of him at the age of 100. But he also accompanied Casals at the Prague festivals in the 50s. Now, he recorded the Beethoven sonatas. I had no idea of that. And some of them are here, so that's exciting. And mostly chamber music and singers. So we'll have a big chamber music fest.
They're probably in good order too, really.
They are. They're in nice condition. And really weird and wonderful things like... here's a record here in my hand of Zoltan Kodai's Peacock Variations and Bartok's Miraculous Mandarin. Now, that's on an early Olympian Mercury disc from the early days. And that's something you just would never see anywhere. So I'm looking forward to discovering them. So that's it's going to keep us going for a while, Frank.
You bet.
So I'll play an LP each week maybe and see how we go. But I've got to move them all in the booth, and there's not a lot of room in the booth. But the booth has assumed a new purpose. Because of all of the music making in the household here, Kate's decided she is just really focused. I think it's a midlife thing. We all have our midlife things, but she is wanting to play 2 or 3 hours a day on the flute. And she's really into it. She's looking at tutorial videos. I mean, she already got to a graduate standard at the con, but she's getting back into it.
It's so good because she sounded so lovely when you played a little bit of what she was doing. Yeah,
that's right. A few weeks back we did. Anyhow, I mean, look, Kate was a really good player, and but she hasn't played since about 1990. And so, really back into it. And she's getting up at 5 in the morning and coming out here into the booth. So this has become a practice space as well. Not enough room for me to practice the cello, but there's certainly enough room to play the flute. So
there was lots of duets.
Oh, I hope so. Well, we used to sort of play a lot of weddings and things. That's in the early days when we were together in the late 80s, early 90s we did. Well, 80s, not even the 90s. So that was what we used to do. And so she's really back into it. So
there's some lovely Bach stuff.
Oh, there's some beautiful Bach stuff. Yeah, we had an afternoon playing some the other day, actually. We played through a whole book through of Bach sonatas for flute and basso continuo.
I've got all them on recording.
Yeah, there's a very beautiful set with Jean-Pierre Rampal playing.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure that's the one I've got. I think mine are on this Supraphon Czech label.
Yes, on the Czech label. Wow, that'd be good to hear. Some wonderful Czech flute players.
They're vinyls, of course, not CD.
Oh, excellent. Very good. Oh, yes. So there we go. There's a few developments at the station, but I'm just happy that there's sort of live music happening everywhere here, and
good.
It's really important. Otherwise, it's very hard to make sense of anything in the normal sphere. So we find our own little hubs, I suppose. Yeah. So anyhow, any news in your neck of the woods?
Not too much. It's we're getting unlocked. I went to U3A today live.
Did you have your jazz U3A session?
Yes, we did. Lena Horne.
Oh, really?
Very interesting woman.
Oh, how about that? Well, can you give us a bit of a Lena update? Is there a particular Lena Horne recording that sort of stood out?
Yes, her sort of signature tune was Stormy Weather.
Yes, that's right. It was from the film of that name, wasn't it?
I think so. She did a bit of work in films in Hollywood.
Yes.
But she got blacklisted, if I can use the term, through being black.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's such a common story. Oh gosh, she's beautiful.
She wanted to be cast for the lead in Showboat.
Yes.
She would have been perfect for it.
Yes.
But they decided to go for the Ava Gardner and have somebody dub her voice.
Oh, how outrageous is that? It's just extraordinary, isn't it? The crazy stuff that went on. What a travesty.
I know.
Unbelievable. Well, I'd love to. I've seen the film and I know the recording, but it is very beautiful and it'd be nice to have a listen to it.
It's a terrific Lena Horne. Well, it's a doco. I can send it to you, I think.
Oh, okay. Oh, that'd be good. Maybe we'll play it.
It's her talking in later life.
Yeah.
Very, very open description of how all the challenges and everything.
Okay. Well, it would be quite fascinating to hear that. It's interesting you mention all of this because I've been following a few Eartha Kitt recordings lately.
She's another one. She's amazing.
Yeah. She's been a bit of a topic of late, and my daughters seem to have got into her. I don't know. They've been looking at her recordings on YouTube, and they've been asking me if I've got any Eartha Kitt records.
Yeah, she's sort of iconic.
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful singer. I love her songs. She's so sensuous.
I remember as a kid being fascinated by her voice.
Yeah. She has that sort of that vibrato that.
So fast.
Yes, a fast Edith Piaf vibrato.
Very like Piaf, yeah, but she's a sort of mystical figure almost.
Yes, that's right. And she made a really good Catwoman in the Batman series.
She'd be superb.
And she's incredibly alluring. Yes, Eartha Kitt. So, but she also was blacklisted, and because she got up and sort of said something against the about the Vietnam situation in a public place. Yeah, and then suddenly found herself without any work.
I think she was West Indian.
Yeah, I think so. I think partly West Indian, Caribbean. I think there's a mixture of races.
Yes,
she's certainly black, but yeah, I think West Indian. Yeah. So anyhow, maybe we'll feature some of her at some point as well. But look, I think I'll follow on for the next few minutes, and we'll have a listen to Lena Horne.
Okay.
And since you mentioned her today, and maybe tonight, if there's any other particular recordings, we'll put them on the list.
Sounds good.
Just send me a link. So yeah, from the film Stormy Weather from 1943, which I think also includes Fat Swallow. It's a wonderful film, and we'll have a listen to Lena Horne. And I'm just queuing as I speak. It's always convoluted queuing here in the booth, but yep, I think we're ready to go. Lena Horne, Stormy Weather, and this is vk3sl and vk3jr.
together. I'm weary all the time, so weary all the time. Since he went away, the blues walked in and met me. If he stays away, old rocking chair will get me. All I do is pray the Lord above will let me walk in the sun once more. Can't go on. Everything I had is gone. Stormy weather since my man and I ain't together. Keeps raining all the time. Keeps raining all the time. I walk around heavy-hearted and sad. Night comes around and I'm still feeling bad. Rain pouring down, blinding every hope I had. This pittering, pattering, beating and spattering drives me mad. Love, 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 love. This misery is just too much for me. Can't go on. Everything I had is gone. Stormy weather since my man and I ain't together. Keeps raining all the time. Keeps raining all the time.
And the high drama starts.
Yeah.
That was Lena Horne in Stormy Weather. What a liquid voice.
Beautiful voice.
Yeah, great.
She's apparently very attractive as well.
Oh, she's gorgeous. Yes, I was glued to the. To the yeah. She's a beautiful singer. And did she? How long did her career endure? I don't know really much about her at all.
She died at 92.
Right.
And she was singing in her 80s.
Okay.
Beautifully.
How amazing is that?
This doco that she's done is terrific.
Wow.
And she kind of really didn't discover her free self, her true self, until fairly late in life.
Okay, fair enough.
But she did a lot of singing and beautiful singing.
Okay. Oh, wow. Oh, that's good. Well, I look forward to hearing more. You have to send me a couple of tracks and we'll shortlist them for tonight. That'd be really good.
I'll do it.
And
she started singing in the Cotton Club.
did she really?
Yeah,
Okay.
well after the Duke had it, of course.
Yeah, fair enough. In the 30s. Wow. Okay. Well, that would be interesting to follow up and see if we can bookend her career. I always like sort of doing that because it gives a bit of context. So maybe we can hear an early recording and a late one.
See how I can go. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have a look as well. We'll see if we can give Lena Horne a bit of a Guernsey tonight. That'd be great.
Sounds good.
I think we need sort of a bit of an offset to Mrs. Barrett. What's her name? Kathy
Barbarian. Think of Barbarian.
Bavarian. I've got to get this right. I'm not even watching the news, but there's certain names that sort of seem to be out there in the ether, and I don't know. Why am I thinking of what's her name?
I spent a long time thinking it was Bavarian until I came to look it up.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting spelling. Yeah. Well, while we're listening to that, I had to reach up onto the shelf, and this record jumped out at me, and it says "That Bad Eartha."
Oh, great!
Eartha Kitt sings, orchestra directed by Henri Reen. And it's a whole lot of recordings here. So, what do you think? I'll run them by you. You can tell me which one.
Yeah, sure.
You can be the arbiter here, because I don't know where to start. Under the Bridges of Paris, Let's Do It. The Blues, My Heart Belongs to Daddy, and that's on side 1. This is a 10-inch LP, by the way, from the 50s. Sandy's Tune, Senor, Smoke It's in Your Eyes, Shangadu, and that's it. 4 tracks per side.
How about My Heart Belongs to Daddy? That's a pretty torchy sort of song.
Oh, it is, and it's a Cole Porter song too.
So it is.
It is indeed. All right, and all right, we'll play that. Then I'll play my favourite one, which is Under the Bridges of Paris, which
Beautiful.
I think is yeah. So we'll cue up the SP10. We're just getting it all ready to go now. I have to make sure I get the right track here. My Heart Belongs to Daddy, track 4, side 1. Okay, we're in the groove, and I think we're almost ready to go. Let me check. Have I got SP10? No, I've got the bias switched in. We don't want that. We want the SP10. Okay, here we go.
Fall in love with all those boys who maul the young cuties. But now I find I'm more inclined to keep my mind on my duties. While tearing off a game of golf, I may make a play for the caddy. But when I do, I don't follow through, 'cause my heart belongs to Daddy. If I invite a boy some night to dine on my fine fin and Hattie, I just adore his asking for more, but my heart belongs to Daddy. Yes, my heart belongs to Daddy, so I simply couldn't be bad. Yes, my heart belongs to Daddy. Da 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 da. So I want to warn you, laddie, though I know you're perfectly swell, that my heart belongs to Daddy, 'cause my daddy, he treats it so well. There was a dame that a football game made long for the strong and the gratty. I never dream of making the team, 'cause my heart belongs to Daddy. Yes, my heart belongs to Daddy, so I simply couldn't be bad. Yes, my heart belongs to Daddy. Da 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 da. So I want to warn you, laddie, though I know you're perfectly swell, that my heart belongs to Daddy, 'cause my daddy, he treats it so well, so well.
Eartha's got it, doesn't she? She's really got it. That was Eartha Kitt and Henry Wren and the orchestra on an older RCA 10-inch LP, sampling some, rather sensuous vocalists. We just heard Lena Horne before, and we might do a bit of a special on Lena tonight.
Sensuous is the word.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, we've got to have another one. Let's have a listen to that other track now. Let me find it. I'll cue it up. And Under the Bridges of Paris.
de Paris, lorsque descend la nuit, toutes sortes de gueux se foulevillent en cachette et sont heureux de trouver une cochette, hôtel du Curandeur, où l'on ne paye pas cher. Le peu fin et l'eau, c'est pour rien, mon marquis, sous les ponts de Paris, sur les ponts de Paris. Quel rendez-vous! My darling, why I sing this song is easy to explain. It tells what happens all along the bridges of the Seine. The vagabonds go there at night to sleep all their troubles away. But when the moon is shining bright, my heart wants to sing it this way. How would you like to be down by the Seine with me? Oh, what I'd give for a moment or two under the bridges of Paris with you. Darling, I'd hold you tight, far from the eyes of night. Under the bridges of Paris with you, I'd make your dreams come true. Chérie, je vous apporte mes bras. Je vous apporte mon cœur. Je vous apporte all my love. Sur les ponts de Paris, lorsque descend la nuit, under the bridges of Paris with you, I'd make your dreams come true. I'd make your dreams come true.
Oh, Eartha Kitt, you really do it. That
I think you would.
Oh, God, yes. That's a wonderful track from this 10-inch LP. That bad Eartha. Oh, and there's a picture of her looking really bad and Catwomanish and just
She just radiates bad, doesn't she?
Oh, she does. She's incredible. And a remarkable person. In fact, there's a Pathé newsreel turned up, and I did watch this last night, and for gratuitous reasons, I have to say, but it's a colour newsreel from 1960, and of her with her exercise regime. So it's got lots of close-ups of her on the press and doing various things. But we can give you the audio version. But I don't think she speaks, but it's just sort of weird and bizarre, and we'll hear her in a different guise. She was a foot woman.
When you want to keep fit, there's no better place if you're not afraid of hard work. One girl who certainly isn't is that dynamic entertainer, well, you've recognized her, of course, Eartha Kitt. And to keep her already perfect figure supple and ridding herself of some of the tensions of her profession, she does just that, exercise. Despite the typical show business hours she keeps, not finishing at London's talk of the town until the early hours, she still finds time every day to limber up, apart from the tougher workouts in the gym. For like most great artists, anything she sets out to do, she puts her heart and soul into. Like most women, Eartha is two people in one. As a singer, she has been described as the most exciting woman in the world. In the gym, however, her lithe, cat-like movements are so obviously that of a perfect athlete. The instructor on this occasion, by the way, is Al Murray, coach to the British weightlifting team at the last Olympics. It may not look like it at first glance, but this machine is for developing the calves. Women women like Eartha prove without any doubt that exercising with weights and similar apparatus under proper supervision doesn't develop unwanted muscle. There's certainly nothing wrong with her figure. We've actually kaleidoscoped a 2-hour training session into 2 minutes, but it does at least give you an idea. Most of us would have been just about ready to collapse, but to Eartha Kitt, it was just a warm-up before the real business of the evening. No wonder they call her dynamic.
Birds do it, bees do it, even educated fleas do it. Let's do it, let's fall in love. In Spain the best upper sets do it. Lithuanians and let's do it. Let's do it, let's fall in love. The Dutch in old Amsterdam do it, not to mention the Finns. Folks in Siam do it. Think of Siamese twins, some Argentines without means do it. People say in Boston beans do it. Let's do it, let's fall in love. Romantic sponges, they say, do it. Oysters down in Oyster Bay do it. Let's do it, let's fall in love. Cold Cape Cod clams against their wish do it. Even lazy jellyfish do it. Let's do it, let's fall in love. Electric eels, I might add, do it. Though it shocks 'em, I know. Why ask if shall do it? Waiter, bring me shad roe in shallow shoals. English souls do it. Goldfish in the privacy of bowls do it. Let's do it, let's fall in love. Let's fall in love. Let's.
Oh, well, we've got that out of the system now.
Well, that takes sensuous to a whole new level,
It does,
doesn't it?
it certainly does. There we go. Eartha Kitt in profile here at the Afternoon Missions. This is vk3sl and vk3jr. We're testing on 160 and on UHF, and yeah, bit of Eartha time is never a bad idea, is it?
Never.
It's such a great song, and it lends itself to that sort of. It really translates well within the different eras, doesn't it? The it was originally written in the 20s. I think it was written about 26, 27, early days.
It's ageless.
Yeah, it is. It is. It just can be so easily reappropriated, and the personalities there to shine. She does
Or
wonders.
Cole Porter.
Yeah, poor old Cole Porter. Well, do you know what? Bing Crosby made a great recording of that with the Dorsey Brothers Orchestra in 1929.
Oh.
And it's during his jazz phase when and it's great Crosby jazz singings before he sort of went into sort of full-time crooning, and he just had that wonderful earthy colour.
Would be great to hear.
Yeah, so let's have a listen to Mr. Bing. I think, to my best knowledge, this is either the first or close to the first recording, and it's got a great guitar solo with Eddie Lang underneath the vocals, so
Brilliant.
it's got to be heard. Here we go. Back to 1929. VK3s.
lovers said, do it. Lithuanians, and let's do it. Let's do it. Let's fall in love. Why, the Dutch in old Amsterdam do it. Not to mention the Finns. Oh, in Siam do it. Think of Siamese twins. Some Argentines without means do it. People say in Boston beans do it. Let's do it. Let's fall in love.
And whoops, there we go. That's Bing Crosby and Let's Do It from 1920. What a great version, hey? With the Dorsey Brothers Orchestra. Great solo by Jimmy and a nice flute solo on that. I don't know who the flute player was, but interesting. You don't usually hear flute in a jazz recording from that time, but it was there.
It must have been fairly soon after it was written, I think.
I think so. The Paul Whiteman made a record in 1928, I think the year before, which doesn't feature Crosby on it. I'm not even sure who the vocal is on the Whiteman one. And then shortly after, the Dorsey Brothers recorded that. So I think that's pretty much the genesis of that song. But it's got a totally different feel. But
I reckon you'd think it would have been written for Eartha Kitt.
Yeah, I think so. It just suits. It's just perfect with her demeanour.
Bing does a good job, I think.
He does. You know, it's a song that can be different things for different occasions, I suppose. And that's the beauty of this great music is it's eminently adaptable. Yeah, it can transmute. So, yay. Anyhow, we're just testing and listening to examples of nostalgia over the decades. We still haven't gone past 1960 yet. So I could give a teaser for. I can give it a good teaser. Here we go. Kathy Barbarian. Now, when I got the name in front of me, when I got the name in front of me, I could read it. But otherwise, I get confused. And but here we've got a recording here of her singing some Armenian music. So maybe we could just play this as a bit of a teaser, and then the poor listener will have to endure something quite different
That's right.
later on. So we'll I think it's worth exploring. I think it's really interesting looking at different ways of propagating the human voice. So it's all about propagation anyhow, isn't it? On these airs, we sort of propagate the voice, propagate the RF, and so we'll have a listen to Kathy Barbarian and in singing some Armenian folk music in a more conventional guise. This is sort of singing conventional or folk music really, but you can hear that strident quality of her voice, rich in overtones, which lends itself to further exploration, and which she just did in such a remarkably individualistic way. So, yeah, we'll hear just a couple of these. There's quite a few. We might play another one or two of them tonight, but let's hear Kathy. And I'm just going to cue this up a little bit because we are not quite there. Here we go. We just heard Kathy Barbarian singing an Armenian folk song.
Very nice.
Very beautiful voice in a cultural setting. She's it's got a very natural resonance.
She reminds me of Joan Baez.
Yeah, right, okay.
In a folky sort of mode.
Sure. Okay, it's interesting. I know I've heard Joan Baez, but I wouldn't have made that connection. But that's good. That's really interesting. Yeah, I just hear is a very naturally rich voice. I did actually play this for Kate last night. This particular recording, and she just jumped out of her skin and said, "What? Who's this?" And then I played one of her recordings of one of Berio's sequences, and what's this? Yes. Well, she sort of was. She thought, "What's this?" And a different guise. So yeah, a different this. So we're talking in riddles, of course. Tonight you have to listen in, and you'll hear Kathy Bavarian in her other role as a contemporary vocal artist, voice artist. But look, I think it's relevant. I don't think it's, I mean, you certainly don't listen to it with the same ears that you listen to concert music.
No.
It's not conventionally modulated sound, but it's extreme in one sense. But at the same time, they're vocalizations. That's what the human voice is capable of, and she sort of had this real interest in exploring every gamut of the human voice. So from primal screams to whispers to gobbledygook to strange, repetitive, nonchalant sounds, it's all there. But I'm not going to play any now, because I want to leave people in...
we keep people listening.
Yes, we might even have a quarter of a listener tonight. So, yeah, we'll play. And I promise you, folks, if you do listen in, we won't play a lot of the really, really weird stuff. No, we won't saturate you with madness. We'll just sample. Just sampling. I'm keen to sort of widen horizons, and sampling some of this esoteric music, aleatoric music is it's something I need to do. All right. Well, I reckon what we might do is see if we can find a Thunderbirds episode to write out with, Frank. So, we can... I'm just looking up now the Thunderbirds radio episodes. There's quite a few here. And I think they've been recorded off air, so they're not particularly fired. They're a bit sort of condensed, and when you've got one level of compression on top of another level of compression, you starts to sound a little bit sort of punchy and unrealistic. But look, we'll still go with this. And so we've got Trapped in the Sky, Enter the Road, Sun Probe, and Terror in New York City. So have you got a preference for one of these?
It's the New York City one.
I'm just trying to remember. I think it's When the Sky... This is a bit sort of... what's the word for telling the future? It's sort of... anticipates what happened, because I think it's a skyscraper that catches fire.
Yeah, I've got a vague recollection. It could be good.
I think that's the one. Terror in New York City. I think I might be wrong. I think what the plan, if this is the episode I'm thinking of, it's the one when they try and move a skyscraper by railroad.
Yes.
And they try and sort of move the building, which is just such an incredible clause, and then relocate it down a block. And what happened was there's an ancient subway from the 2000s underneath the ground.
Oh, that's right.
Which gives way, and the building collapses. And so prophetic is the word I was looking for.
That's the one. That's the one.
Okay, well, look, I might be completely wrong. It might be something else.
Well, that'll be good.
But I hope it uses the mole, because I always liked the mole.
The mole, they didn't use the mole too much.
They didn't. The mole sort of got occasionally used, but I always thought the mole was a pretty cool device.
You had anything to have.
Yeah, I reckon a mole would be very handy. Yeah, all right. Well, we'll persevere with this now. We'll have a listen to the Terror in New York City.
It's VK3JR working VK3sl.
Yes.
Crossband duplex.
That's indeed the case on 160 metres. And we'll follow on with this now, and we'll look forward to your company later on tonight at 11.
Likewise.
Yeah, so 11:30 I'll wind up the gramophone, play a few things, maybe a bit of Eartha and a bit of this and that, and then at midnight-ish we'll do the Zoom call, and follow on with some Mrs. not Berejiklian, Bavarian. So thanks, Frank. Look forward to your company later on. Okay, this is vk3sl testing.
Is BBC Radio 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. International Rescue are back on Radio 5. Thunderbirds are go. Thunderbird 1 in base from Thunderbird 2. Under missile attack. Fire! Are you okay, Virgil? Changing frequency to combat jammers. Fire! They're on check. They're coming straight for me. Washington, sir. Emergency call. The wheels, they collapsed. The ground is cracking under the track. Like an earth tremor beneath my feet. The Empire State Building has crashed into a mountain of rubble. Help! I'll have to go all the way by sea. Even if you made it, you'd only be in time to attend Ned Cook's funeral. Tonight's episode, Terror in New York City, introduced by Thunderbird's mastermind, Jerry Anderson. We used to try and divide the stories so that each of the rescue craft was featured regularly. Thunderbird 1 was easy. After all, it was always the first to go. But try as we may, we nearly always ended up with all the other Tracy boys crammed into Thunderbird 2 and leaving Thunderbird 3 and 4 back at base. One day I read in a newspaper that a large store somewhere in Japan was in the way of a big road widening scheme. Because of its huge value as a going concern, it was not demolished, but miraculously shifted to a new position. It was jacked up and moved inch by inch to its new site. So slow was the movement that customers continued to shop there throughout the operation. If this idea were to be the basis of a Thunderbird story, then, as always, it would have to be amplified. And so I decided we would move the Empire State Building in New York. And of course, if it were to be a Thunderbird story, there would have to be a disaster. But how do you justify a building built on solid rock toppling over? That's where the idea of an underground stream came from. An underground stream.
Okay, folks, this is pretty crap. Unfortunately, it's a really bad audio copy of this. So what I might do is defer to, I think I found a better one. I'm just taking a punt on this. It may be just as bad, but we'll give it a go. And Terror in New York City, take 2. We might have a bit of replay.
From Thunderbird 2, under missile attack. Fire! Are you okay, Virgil? Changing frequency to combat jammers. Fire! They're on check. They're coming straight for me. Washington, sir. Emergency call. The wheels, they've collapsed. The ground is cracking under the track. Like an earth tremor beneath my feet. The Empire State Building has crashed into a mountain of rubble. Help! I'll have to go all the way by sea. Even if you made it, you'd only be in time to attend Ned Cook's funeral. Tonight's episode, Terror in New York City, introduced by Thunderbird's mastermind, Jerry Anderson. As far as possible in Thunderbirds, we used to try and divide the stories so that each of the rescue craft was featured regularly. Thunderbird 1 was easy. After all, it was always the first to go. But try as we may, we nearly always ended up with all the other Tracy boys crammed into Thunderbird 2 and leaving Thunderbird 3 and 4 back at base. One day I read in a newspaper that a large store somewhere in Japan was in the way of a big road widening scheme. Because of its huge value as a going concern, it was not demolished, but miraculously shifted to a new position. It was jacked up and moved inch by inch to its new site. So slow was the movement that customers continued to shop there throughout the operation. If this idea were to be the basis of a Thunderbird story, then, as always, it would have to be amplified. And so I decided we would move the Empire State Building in New York. And of course, if it were to be a Thunderbird story, there would have to be a disaster. But how do you justify a building built on solid rock toppling over? That's where the idea of an underground stream came from. An underground stream. At last, an opportunity to feature Thunderbird 4. But why wouldn't it be carried in Thunderbird 2? That would be the obvious thing to do. And so, Thunderbird 2 had to be disabled. We left that to the trigger-happy Americans. But as always in Thunderbirds, things turned out the right way up. The Americans made good by delivering Thunderbird 4 to New York without stealing its thunder, if you'll forgive the pun. So let's see what caused the terror in New York City.
Attack station. Trigger interceptor missile. Stand by. 3, 2, 1, 0. Fire!
Thunderbird 1 on base from Thunderbird 2. Under missile attack.
Virgil, switch on the jammer.
I think it's too late, Scott.
Are you okay, Virgil? Come in, Thunderbird 2.
Still here, Scott. Oh, that was close. Exploded right beneath me. Feels like I've got some damage on my tail unit.
Trigger interceptor missile. North second attack. 5 seconds.
Changing frequency to
Combat jammers. 3, 2, 1, 0. Fire!
Here we go again, Scott.
Get that jammer working, Virgil. I'm catching up on you fast.
They've changed frequency, Scott. They're unchecked. They're coming straight for me.
Oh, hi there. Gordon Tracy speaking. Just listen to this. It's a video recording showing the start of yet another international rescue. The U.S. Navy's super-secret strike vessel Sentinel had made a missile attack on Thunderbirds 1 and 2 when Scott and Virgil were returning from a mission. And Virgil in particular took quite a pasting. It seems the Navy had them fitted for hostile craft.
Washington, sir. Emergency call. Message to Sentinel Commander. Stop attack immediately. Unidentified aircraft is a Thunderbird machine of the International Rescue Organization. Lady, missiles 5 and 6, destroy them. Thunderbird 2 from Thunderbird 1. Come in, Virgil. Will we be able to make it back to base?
I'm not sure, Scott. Engines are running smoothly, but the tail section is giving trouble.
It's just another 10 minutes. Now, you'll make it, Virgil. I know you will. We're nearly home, Virgil. We're nearly home.
Undercut down. Flaps down. Banking for final approach. Easy does it. Easy.
It was a close thing, but Virgil managed to touch down.
He's down.
The wheels, they've collapsed. The wheels are gone. I can't hold her. I'm gonna crash.
Release home, Section B.
The missiles had apparently damaged the undercarriage, causing them to collapse under the weight of the huge craft. The emergency equipment gushed a thick carpet of foam, which lessened the chances of fire in Thunderbird 2, and helped to cushion the impact as Virgil fought to bring her under control. He made it. But in doing so, the poor guy struck his head, and he lost consciousness. He had us all very worried until he finally came to.
How are you, Virgil?
Well, welcome back to the land of the living.
What happened to Thunderbird 2? Now, quit worrying about that. She was badly damaged, but she's gonna be okay.
There's nothing that a few weeks' work won't put right.
A few weeks? But that's terrible. Supposing she's needed on call. Well, let's hope she's not. Now, you relax. You need a lot of rest.
Hi, Virgil. Got your TV switched on?
No, sir. I've seen enough TV to last me the rest of my life.
Oh, but this is a special program. They're moving the Empire State Building.
This I must say.
You are about to witness, folks, one of the greatest pieces of engineering feats of all time.
Yes, sir, that's Ned Cook. You know, the guy had to stop filming us at the oil well.
Yes, Scott. He'd do anything for a story.
In a few moments, the National Television Broadcasting System will show you a construction job that leaves the building of the pyramids in the shade. Today, the Empire State Building here in New York City is going to be moved 200 yards, not piece by piece, but as it stands, all 1,250 feet of it. First of all, we'll explain how this tremendous task is going to be performed.
Sure would like to have been there today.
Yeah, me too.
Now, after tunneling under the foundations, hydraulic jacks were placed beneath the building. Then the jacks were raised, and up she came. The next step was to lay a heavy-duty track under the building and run it to the new site. Now, all that remains to be done is to move the giant building inch by inch to its new site.
Wait for it.
The signal's been given.
He's moving. Yes, he's moving. Of my broadcasting, this must be the most breathtaking moment I have ever experienced. Hold everything. Something's gone wrong. The ground is cracking under the track. It's like an earth tremor beneath my feet. There is something wrong. The atomic motors are shutting down. Ordered off this site by the police. There is, I understand, a very real danger that the entire building could collapse at any moment. We will be on the air again as soon as we have...
What you are seeing is the result of this terrifying tragedy. The Empire State Building has crashed into a mountain of rubble. It is no more.
Help! Can you hear me? Help!
That's Ned Cook's voice.
He's still alive. One moment. It seems we have a miracle on our hands. That was Ned Cook's voice that we just heard.
Well, how could anyone be alive under all that, Lod?
I don't know. But one thing's for sure. They'll never get him out.
Now, our equipment could do it, Father. We've got to get Thunderbird 2 there right away.
Scott, you're forgetting. Thunderbird 2 is out of commission. There's nothing we can do. Ladies and gentlemen, Ned Cook is trapped under the ruins of the Empire State Building and is in touch with us via his radio microphone. We will be using this channel in order to maintain contact with him. All right, Ned Cook, Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Just before the building crashed, the ground collapsed beneath our feet. Then the building came down on top of us. Don't ask me why we weren't crushed. It was a miracle. We are now sitting in a hollow about 10 feet wide. We're not hurt, but I can hear water seeping in from below.
Of course. But that's the answer.
The answer to what, Brains?
Well, I've been trying to figure out why that area should suddenly collapse. Underground rivers.
Underground rivers?
Yes, Brains could be right. Many cities have rivers running beneath them.
If there was a river running under the Empire State Building, an undetected river, that could have caused the trouble.
That means water will continue to seep into the hollow that's protecting Ned Cook. He'll drown.
If only we could get along that river.
That might be possible with Thunderbird 4.
But we can't airlift it to New York without Thunderbird 2.
Then I'll have to go all the way by sea.
Look, Gordon, your suggestion is not only dangerous, it's also highly impractical. Even if you made it, you'd only be in time to attend Ned Cook's funeral. Right now, I could get the commander of Sentinel...
That's it. The Sentinel. They put us out of action. They can put us back into action.
I get the picture, and I like it. Now, here's what we do. Scott, take over for New York.
Yes, sir.
Gordon, launch Thunderbird 4 using emergency procedure, and then proceed to the position where the fleet exercises are going on. I'll contact Washington and arrange for them to pick you up and rush you to New York.
Yes, sir. Good luck, Gordon. What can I do, Father?
Go back to bed.
This is a test transmission from vk3sl.
A rescue involving Thunderbird 4 and no Thunderbird 2 to get me to the trouble zone. I used the passenger lift, which connected with the big Thunderbird 2 hangar, and boarded Thunderbird 4. I had to use my hover jets to get me to the scene. But then, of course, Thunderbird 4 was in its own element. As I made my way to meet up with Sentinel, Scott was already heading directly to New York City, aboard Thunderbird 1.
This is Thunderbird 1 of International Rescue calling New York. Come in, Empire State, Site Control.
Site control to Thunderbird 1. Boy, are we glad you guys are around.
Is there any news of the trapped men?
Well, we've drilled a pilot hole to supply them with air, lighting, and food. Trouble is, the water level is rising.
Right. I'll be arriving in under 30 minutes. I'll need detailed plans of the underground river systems.
Thunderbird 1 from Thunderbird 4. I have made contact with Sentinel. I'm being taken aboard.
FAB. Now, what is your estimated time of arrival at Danger Zone?
24 hours, I'm afraid.
Okay, Gordon. You do the best you can.
I've been studying Manhattan Island, Mr. Tracy. Its base is solid rock. Now, underground streams do exist, but they've never been considered a threat.
What are you getting at, Brains?
Well, no recent surveys have been carried out. It's going to be a difficult task to locate the river.
I see. Already it's touch and go whether Thunderbird 4 can arrive in time, and now the rescue could be delayed even further. Go ahead, Scott. Okay, Father, I'm here, and I'm set up. Now, here's the situation. Ned Cook and his cameraman are still alive. We can get food down to them, but the water is rising. Now, according to our calculations, they'll be under about the same time as Gordon arrives. Right, Scott. Here's what you do. Pass breathing apparatus down to them and keep them alive till Thunderbird 4 gets there.
Hello, Ned. How you feeling? Now, whatever happens, you stay with it.
That's easy to say, buddy, but it's been 9 hours since you got on the scene.
I know, Ned. We're doing all we can.
Sure. I'm sorry. Guess just hanging about is getting me. We're so helpless. And the cold.
The water's freezing.
It is still rising.
Yeah, it's coming up faster now. At this rate, we have less than 10 hours. We'll be under around 10 a.m.
New York, to Sentinel. What is your ETA?
We calculate 10:05 a.m., Scott.
Well, that's going to leave things pretty tight. Can you get more speed?
Afraid not. We're at maximum speed now.
Answer negative, Scott. 10 hours to New York it is.
Okay, Gordon. I guess there's nothing we can do about it. Well, how about that breathing gear?
We located some units at the Navy Yard.
Well, that's something.
Joe's in a bad way. This freezing water is getting him. We can't hold on. The water's up to our mouth. We'll have to wait.
The mask! Put the masks on! Ned, can you hear me? Are you okay? Ned, come in!
It's okay. We've got the gear on. Now we've got to sit here and wait for our air to run out. We're slowing down. What's wrong?
Well, we're approaching coastal limits. The Hudson and East Rivers are crammed with shipping. We can't possibly go any further at maximum speed.
Well, wouldn't it be quicker in Thunderbird 4? Under the shipping?
Much quicker.
Okay. I'll take it from here.
Sentinel to mobile control. Approaching New York. I am returning to Thunderbird 4.
FAB, Gordon. When's your ETA now?
I'll be near danger zone in 20 minutes.
Hope I can find that river mouth.
So do I. In 20 minutes, Ned and Joe run out of air.
Well, it was up to Thunderbird 4 from here on in. I could expect little or no help from outside sources. Even the exact location of the underground river was uncertain. All I could do was try. So I carried out final equipment checks while the Sentinel crew prepared to lower Thunderbird 4 into the waters of the harbor. Down and down I went until I was under the busy shipping lanes. Then it was full speed ahead and a race against time.
Mobile control to Thunderbird 4. Moving towards East River estuary now.
Thunderbird 4 is on its way, Ned. How's the air going?
Too fast for my liking. I found it, Scott. I'm moving upstream. So far, we're in luck. It's big enough for navigation.
Sir, there's a message just come in from Central Control. It's pretty serious, I'm afraid. Oh, what's their problem? The land subsidence is spreading. It looks like the Fulmer Finance building is in danger now. It could go over as well.
Fulmer Finance? Thunderbird 4 from Rescue Control. Gordon, do you hear me?
Loud and clear, Scott. No sign of these fellas as yet.
Gordon, now listen. You've got to locate them within the next 2 minutes. There's another building up here that's going to collapse. And the impact could cave in the whole area where those guys are swimming.
The air of the gauge reads empty. And Joe's in a bad way.
But don't panic. There's probably still some air left in those tanks.
We found it. There's just enough room to get through. Come on, Joe. Swim. I come to a wall of rock. It's a dead end. Hold it. No. It's a sharp bend. The tunnel goes off to the right. They're close. If only they can hang on just a few more seconds.
Ned, you've got to keep going. Search for Thunderbird 4's beacon. Look out for a beacon. Ned! Joe, swim!
Joe, they found us. Joe, come on. You've got to swim. I can't see them, Scott. I can't see them. Okay, I got them. Ned, this is Thunderbird 4. I'm opening hatch. Swim into hatch.
Right, now be it good. Get the heck out of there.
It didn't seem possible, but we made it. I was convinced we might well have to chalk up our first failure during that rescue. Time was against us right from the start. However, I'm happy to say that Thunderbird 2 is now back in service and packed with improvements. So we are once again at full strength and ready to move whenever we get that distress call. Well, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed the adventure. See you next time. FAB.
Listening to Terror in New York City, brought to you by Jerry Anderson. The series was produced for Radio 5 by Christopher Aldrich. Coming up next week on Thunderbirds, Ricochet.
Ricochet, are you hurt?
No, I'm okay. What happened?
I don't know.
Was it a meteorite?
No, it was some sort of explosion. I'll have to check.
You worry too much.
I still think I should go outside and take a look.
You can. We're on the air in 2 minutes.
Now, you listen to me. We're in serious trouble. We've moved in orbit.
You mean we're heading for the Earth?
Yeah.
Well, okay, we'll land. What's the problem? We're built for re-entry. We had to come down sometime anyway.
Not without breaking parachutes. Look. So there's nothing to slow us down. We're heading
This is a test transmission from vk3sl.
Next Monday, ETA 5 past 8 on Radio 5. FAB.
This is vk3sl. Sorry about that dead air there. That recording was about as bad as it gets. Anyhow, we did persevere, and it's a good story, but evidently no good copies. There's a few copies around, and that's from the official anthology, that one we just heard, so I reckon it only survives as a 27th generation audio cassette. Muffle Missions at its worst. I tried to EQ it, but without much success. Any success, really. Anyhow, folks, we'll stand by and we'll be all go tonight as planned, all being well. So thank you for your listenership, and I'll see if I can find something to wind off with. Let's see what's on the list here. What have we got? We can listen to a little bit more Kathy Barbarian. Oh no, here we go. No, we'll listen to her tonight. Here we go. Here's the original version, the first hot off the press recording with Paul Whiteman from 1928 on a Whiteman face label on a Columbia, and his interpretation of Let's Do It, VK3SL. Cheers for now. Yes, I remember. There's a long lead in here.
Siamese twins, some Argentines without means, do it. People say in Boston, even me.